Okay. So let's talk specifically about RingSense for sales. And maybe you can describe the user story, describe the componentry, how it's configured differently than how we're going to look at it in RingSense for service.
Well, the configuration is fairly consistent, but the user story, or at least look at who are the consumers or users of RingSense as a platform. From a sales perspective, you look at how a sales team is enabled, right? You've got people who are coming into the organization. They're trained in the methodology the company wants to utilize for their sales motion. So one of the things that RingSense provide is the ability for you to implement what we call trackers, which are the AI looking for certain things to be done in the different sales process and different steps within the sales cycle. So I'm going to look at, like, for example, one of the common ones is a acronym called BANT, Budget, Authority, Needs, and Timeline. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that you're training your agents or your sales reps to start asking questions about. Do you have budget? What does that budget look like? Do you have the authority to make decisions? If not, who are those people? What are your current requirements or needs? Do you have an impending event? Let's say a legacy platform is going end of life and I need to make a replacement. What's that timeline? Again, tied to what the need is. So this is what agents should be following this process. So now we have the ability as a administrator to configure trackers to look for that type of thing. As opposed to if you're looking at customer service, there may be certain things that you want to make sure that when somebody calls in and they're having an issue, how do you address that? How do you acknowledge the fact that you empathize with that customer's frustration potentially? How do you make sure that you're asking if you've resolved their problem? So there's certain things that you want in a customer service motion. So going back to the sales, so we now have the ability for us to configure, for the administrator to configure, what are we tracking in terms of what's being said during all these different sales motions. Mm-hmm. Then we look at the manager or the supervisor who now has to look at how is the team performing. Everybody's got a quota and everybody is measured against that number, but then how effective are they at the sales opportunities that they're given to close those deals? What are things they're doing well? What things they need additional coaching on? So one of the examples I usually give is, let's say, for example, I'm training people on a certain set of methodology. And then as I'm tracking with RingSense all the different sales activity around an opportunity, and then looking across multiple opportunities, I'm looking at the win-loss. And then I correlate that to what the AI is extracting across the different conversations for that opportunity. And then I look at, okay, are there certain teams or individuals performing at a higher level than others? Their close rate's higher. So why is their close rate higher? Are they following the sales methodology that we trained them on? And people are not performing well or deviating from that? Or are the people who are not doing as well following the sales process, but not having as much success as the people who are performing at a top level, but they're doing something different? What is that thing that they're doing different? And how can we incorporate that into our training and coaching for improving the sales team? So it provides a feedback loop for the sales enablement folks. It provides tools for the managers to see, who are my better performers and why. Mm-hmm. Because again, if quota is the only metric to determine whether a sales rep is doing well, you don't know why they're not hitting their quotas. And obviously replacing employees, whether it's a salesperson or a customer service rep, it's expensive, right? You got to take time to get them source candidates, get them onboarded, train them, and how long is the ramp to be productive. So if you can shorten that ramp time when you do bring new people on, or keep people who are underperforming from leaving because they're frustrated, they're not getting the right feedback and coaching to hit those numbers. Mm-hmm. Again, it provides a lot of ways to make sure that the team you have is doing as best that they can. And then in some cases, you're also looking at, is my methodology even correct for how I'm closing and winning business?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I would imagine also in combination with that, Ring CX and the knowledge-based componentry and the agent assist capability there kind of works hand in hand with this. So RingSense is doing a post-interaction assessment and providing AI to deliver a proper summary of that particular interaction.
If you look at the analytics that RingSense provides, that requires a huge amount of processing power, and it does require time. So you can do things in real time, but it's limited in terms of the things that it's looking for, how it can look at. Let's say, for example, sentiment analysis. A lot of times it's word choice to determine sentiment. You associate certain words or terms to be negative and certain terms to be positive. But RingSense goes a little deeper. It actually looks at tone of voice and other characteristics of the actual speaker to determine what's going on. Because I can say a word that in some contexts is positive, but if you actually listen to the tone of voice, it actually comes out as very negative. Sarcasm, you can't tell if somebody's being sarcastic by just looking at the words. So that's where RingSense plays a role into providing that post interaction to say, is the guidance I'm providing in real time, really giving you the improvement that you're looking for from the individual contributors.
British humorists must like flip this upside down.